I know better, so why can't I do better? Sound familiar? If that thought has ever crossed your mind, pause here for a moment, because that question sounds logical, even responsible, but it carries a lot of shame, and it shouldn't. Most people ask that question quietly, usually after another missed workout, another stressful week, another promise to themselves that didn't stick. And instead of curiosity, they feel disappointment. We've been taught that knowing what to do should automatically lead to doing it, that information equals action, that awareness equals discipline. But human behavior doesn't work that way. If it did, no one would struggle. Everyone would eat well, move consistently, manage stress perfectly, and never fall off. And oddly enough, we wouldn't really be human if we acted more like this. Because in reality, no one is perfect. And yet many of us, including myself, have a hard time understanding this universal truth. Knowledge alone has never been enough. Knowing better doesn't make you immune to stress. It doesn't protect you from exhaustion. It doesn't remove the emotional weight of a full life with real responsibilities. And it definitely doesn't mean you're broken when follow-through gets hard. And here's the part most people never hear. Knowledge doesn't drive behavior, but safety, capacity, and your emotional bandwidth does. You can know exactly what to eat, how to train, how to sleep, how to manage stress, and still struggle to do it when your system feels overwhelmed. That's not a flaw in your character. That's biology doing its job. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for safety. And when life feels heavy, unpredictable, or demanding, it shifts priorities. Survival beats optimization every time. When follow-through breaks down, it's easy to assume you're self-sabotaging, that you're lazy, that you don't want it badly enough. But more often, something in you is protecting energy, avoiding overwhelm, or responding to pressure. That response isn't weakness, it's intelligence. Your nervous system doesn't care how much you know. It cares about whether continuing feels safe, sustainable, and manageable in that moment. If something feels like too much, your system pulls the brakes, not to ruin your progress, but to preserve you. That's important to understand, because when you ask, why can't I do better if I know better? What you're really doing is judging yourself for being human under stress. Unjudgment adds pressure. Pressure tightens the system, and tight systems don't change easily. Pressure doesn't unlock consistency. It shuts it down. This is why beating yourself up never works long term. It might get a short burst of action, but it always comes with a cost. Eventually, something inside you pushes back. So here's a different question to try. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Ask, what am I protecting myself from right now? That question changes everything. It shifts the conversation from blame to understanding, from force to curiosity, from conflict to cooperation. It allows you to see resistance, not as an enemy, but as information. Maybe you're protecting yourself from burnout, maybe from disappointment, maybe from the emotional weight of trying again and risking another letdown. Maybe you've pushed hard before and paid for it later. Maybe your system learned that trying too intensely isn't safe. None of that means you're incapable of change. It means you're paying attention to your limits. Limits aren't failures, they're boundaries. And boundaries are how sustainable change begins. Curiosity creates space, and space is where trust starts to rebuild. When you're curious instead of critical, you stop fighting yourself. You stop trying to overpower resistance and start listening to it. You begin to ask gentler questions. What feels doable right now? What feels supportive instead of draining? What version of consistency would my system actually agree to? And when your system feels heard, it becomes more willing to move. Trust isn't built by pushing harder. It's built by showing yourself that you'll listen when things feel heavy. Every time you ignore your limits, trust erodes. Every time you respect them, trust grows. And trust is what makes consistency possible. This is why some people with less knowledge stay consistent longer. Not because they're better, not because they're more disciplined, but because they're gentler with themselves when things get hard. They don't turn every setback into an identity crisis. They don't treat resistance like a character flaw. They adjust instead of attack. Consistency doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from feeling safe enough to try again without punishment. When returning doesn't come with shame, returning happens faster. When effort doesn't feel dangerous, effort becomes repeatable. And repeatability is what actually builds change. This doesn't mean you'll be perfect. It doesn't mean you'll never miss. It doesn't mean every week will feel easy. But it does mean you stop making struggle mean something terrible about who you are. When you trust yourself, follow through becomes possible again. Not perfect, not constant, but real. And real consistency always beats forced consistency in the long run. If this way of thinking feels grounding instead of pressure-filled, that's not an accident. It's because it works with human behavior instead of against it. If you want to explore more conversations like this, stay with the channel and subscribe. This is the Longevity Mindset. We are here for you as adults for adults, navigating this wonderful thing we call life. Let's work together one step at a time, one video at a time, to start living a life worth living. And as always, stay happy and stay healthy. See you in the next video. Take care.